Bonjour!
Bonjour everyone, Pantoufleee here today for a new video in which we're going to talk about the long time forgotten tank, aka the Shiri, the tier 7 Japanese medium tank. And the first thing that I find quite funny about this tank is that it's featured as medium, whereas it's bigger than most heavies of the same tier, which kind of makes it look fun. But is it good in the current meta? Because back in the days when I had my Shiri, I truly loved that tank. I loved it for two main reasons. The first one is the fear factor. Usually when you're playing against newbies, as your tank is big, they're going to be scared of you. I don't know why, but it happens to me a couple of times that people started to move backward, to rush, retreat, to avoid getting encountered by my Shiri. Nowadays, it's a little bit different because with the HUD and all the upcoming broken tanks we have in the Tech Tree, etc., that are way better and way more competitive than the Shiri, you don't have the fear factor, but you still have the second factor for yourself, which is the gun. This tank is featuring one of the craziest guns at tier 6. Why am I saying tier 6? Because yes, the tank is tier 7, but the gun itself is tier 6. So, two things that makes this gun amazing. First one, the damage per minute, 2.6k, which is insane for tier 7. The magazine reload time is 9 seconds for 3 shells in the magazine. Each shell will penetrate for 160 alpha damage. Therefore, you can climb up to more than 400, maybe 500 if you're lucky enough, damage per clip every 10 to 11 seconds, and therefore if you play correctly you can be quite deadly on the battlefield. For the rest of the characteristics I'm not gonna bother, it's traditional and you're gonna see it directly into the game, but maybe one thing to add, this tank is paper everywhere. Everybody will penetrate you with HE regardless of where they shoot, so really be careful when you're playing this tank not to be too much exposed. Finally, briefly, how am I equipping my tank? I first go for calibrated shell because your penetration sucks a little bit with it. After I go for the enhanced gun lane drive to reduce my aiming time. Finally, vertical stabilizer to reduce it even more, simply because as you know you have an autoloader and you only have 1 second of delay between your shells, therefore you want to maximize your aim time. After I go for the defense system because I'm not going to ram anybody. Improved assembly because I don't have armor, so I would rather have more HP. Toolbox because an instruct is useless. Improved optics because I'm not a tank destroyer, I don't need a camo. Engine accelerator because my mobility overall is average, so let's try to increase it just a little bit. And finally, consumable delivery system because I'm using with my Shiri nothing else but my special consumable that I forgot to equip. I'm gonna equip it real quick, okay? That's to be able to use this multi-purpose restoration pack more often. Anyway, we are set up. Let's go for some battle. So let's take a look at the tank in two different replays, one where we are top tier and one where we are bottom tier. Of course, we start off with the top tier one. When you're top tier with the Shiri, honestly, even in the current meta, you can still do quite well. Let me explain to you briefly what I mean. You have 2.6k DPM, which is insane for tier 7. And when you have this kind of DPM, trust me, when you try to focus someone and really destroy people, you will get to your goal. Therefore, if you do that, it shouldn't be too hard for you to eliminate 1, 2, 3 targets in a row and therefore give your team the victory. Now, all you need to do and to understand with this tank is you're not supposed to rush in. It's not that like the traditional Russian playstyle where you can just YOLO in through the lines of the enemies and just destroy them one by one. With the Shiri, you need to play carefully. And it's a good advice on both being top or bottom tier with the tank. Now, how are we performing right now? For the moment, as you can see, we didn't try to go into the other side on the medium side. Why? Two reasons. First, if you take a look at the map, my team is not following and they're all on the left side. And second, the Shiri is not really doing well on those hilly terrains. Simply because, yes, you have a good gun depression, but as your tank is quite huge, this gun depression is in fact definitely not the best. Because having 10 degrees of gun depression on something that is literally 2 meters high is not necessarily the best out there. Now, you should try a sneaky playstyle most of the time, and a lot of tanks are actually being played sneaky in this game, but this one especially. So there we go, we tried to sneak some shots from the ridge line, and we were lucky that the M6 missed his shot by shooting the by shooting through the field instead of us. Simply because when you take a look with the Shiri, trust me, it's never gonna bounce. And look at how amazing that burst damage is. Look at this, the M6 in less than 2 seconds, we managed to pull out 400, more than 400, nearly 420 alpha damage. This is literally insane for a tank of this tier, because, for example, the Gravedigger does the same thing, but takes more than 6 seconds to do it. And that's what is insane about the Shiri. It's the burst ability and also the fact that you are reloading extremely fast for an autoloader. I mean, 9 seconds, you reload faster than a regular IS, for example, and you're doing much more damage, which makes this tank quite interesting even in the current meta. So there we go, we try to push forward, we try to play around, we don't want to go into a frontal fight, you don't have the armor for that and you're gonna get brawled. No, what you want to do here is waiting for them to do the mistake, and when they do the mistake, that's where you strike. For example, here, the M6, oh boy, you shouldn't have picked, you should have known that I was there. Pack, 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 see ya M6, see you in heaven, or hell, who knows. And so, that's it. That's pretty much the playstyle. Look at this. We are not trying to go further. We're not trying to rush through the lines of the enemies. We are trying to play smartly. We try to find isolated targets and sneak some shots. Look at this, for example, on the T26E3 Eagle 7. Just his reaction time allowed us to sneak 2 shots in. And that's one of the few things the Shiri is capable of that not a single other tanks at the same tier can do. Now we're gonna retreat. We're gonna retreat, reload, and we're gonna try to focus now really on the playstyle, okay? Because I feel like I said everything there is to know about the Shiri concerning the playstyle and how you want to handle it. Now let's focus a little bit on my moves. As you can see, I have half my HP, and in front of me I have something I really fear, aka the Smasher. That's the only one I feel like could literally destroy me in one go. Therefore, I'm not trying to push forward. I try to go back to help the rest of my team because we are in a tough situation. So there we go, sneaking 4 shots into the AMX M445, nearly dealing 500 damage. And now we just have to wait. We wait for our reload, our mighty reload that is fast as fuck for an autoloader. And there we go again. We sneak 1 shot that missed, unfortunately, 2 shots, and I took 1 shot in the process. You're gonna tell me it's not really a problem, I still have 400 HP, but now the problem is, I'm a one-shot for the SU-100Y as well, because if the SU-100Y uses his gold shell, he has 530 alpha damage. So now I'm like, nah, you know what, I'm gonna leave behind that AMX and I'm gonna push forward and help the rest of my team on the other side because I feel like they need me. Unfortunately, I arrived too late. My reaction time was a little bit under low there, but it's not a problem. I mean, they're all one shot for me and I have one of the best DPM at tier 7, so I can still handle the situation. In this kind of situation, Kolobanovs, if there is someone isolated, that's the first one you gotta focus on. That's what I did coming back on the AMX M4 to be sure to destroy him, and now I'm gonna try to go as far as possible to avoid getting shot by the SU or the Smasher because they know my position. That's something that is common. It's not necessarily related to the tank we're playing. That's something you need to do with every single tank you're playing, as long as you have the mobility, of course. And now we just have to wait for them. I'm gonna wait for the SU-100Y because I feel like I'm not spotted. I'm unspotted for the moment. So I'm just gonna wait for him to do the mistake, and luckily for me, the max roll hit him straight away. There we go for a second shot on the Smasher, and extremely luckily for me, he didn't try a snapshot. If he tried one, I feel like he could have been able to just smoke me, but he didn't try it because he knew if he did that, I would have the time to go rush him and kill him. So we're gonna make him believe that we're going away and we're coming back. And as we're coming back, we're gonna wait for the Smasher to show himself. We go for a first shot. Unfortunately, it didn't go as expected, but the second one went straight in and we killed the Smasher quite easily. We handled that 1 versus 3 easily because we had the DPM and also because we knew how to play our tank. Since the beginning of the game, we didn't try to push forward. We didn't try to rush through. No, we stayed in the back, and that's exactly what you want to do with your Shiri, because if you don't, you're gonna get wrecked. Now, talking about the second playstyle, how does it perform when you are bottom tier? I was about to say top tier, but no, you're definitely not top tier here. As you can see, it's 50-50, let's say. There is 3 tier 7 and 4 tier 9. I want to remind you that the Shiri lacks of one thing concerning the gun, aka the penetration. Even with your gold shell, you are going to struggle penetrating heavily armored tanks at tier 8. Therefore, you gotta adapt your playstyle. And the best advice I can give you while playing the Shiri is probably staying with the main forces of your team. You stay with them, you wait for them to take shots for you, and you're going to play it like a traditional autoloader. The main difference between being top tier and bottom tier with the Shiri is probably the fact that when you're top tier, you can actually play aggressively, because with 9 seconds of reload, not a lot of tanks at tier 7 can challenge your DPM. Therefore, you're 100% sure that every time you're going to encounter a tier 7, if it's not a Smasher, you are going to be able to destroy him completely before him being able to kill you. But the second factor when you're bottom tier is probably that you don't want... you can spot for your team like I'm doing right now, but you don't want to be the one taking shots, because against tier 8s, you can't bounce anything already at tier 7, so just imagine at tier 8. So there we go, STG camping. It doesn't have the gun depression, luckily for us. We go back and look at the amazing reload time we have. That's what I love about my Shiri. Just, okay, the STG is probably going to be able to sneak a shot, but has he shot his shells? We already reloaded our 3 shells in the magazine. And that's like the free-to-play version of the Gravedigger, in my opinion, the Shiri, but with a better gun, a way better gun. But that's only my opinion. Don't feel free to disagree with me. And now you can see that we are playing in the back. We are not trying to take shots. We are not trying to brawl. That's not the goal of the Shiri when you are top tier. No, you stay in the back, you wait for your allies to take the shots, and that's how it goes. For example, here, I didn't want it to take the shot from the Sturer Emil. Unfortunately for me, I took the Tiger 2, but couldn't deal with a crossfire here. It was either I took the Tiger 2 for 300 or I took the Sturer Emil for nearly 440 alpha damage. So I would rather go for 300, let's be honest. Okay, now it's a little bit different, because as you can see, they don't really care about us, and that's something great when you're playing the Shiri, because the more people don't give a shit about you, the more damage you're gonna deal, because with 2.6k of DPM, trust me, you are quite deadly. For example, here there is this AFK T23-3, and look at the time it took us to deliver nearly 500 damage on him. Nearly 2 seconds. That's all it takes for your tank to deliver fire on your opponents. There we go, we reload so fast that we had the time to burst all our shells on the T23 E3, reload, kill the Sturer Emil before the Sturer even managed to pull out his new burst. Insane. I love the Shiri. You know what? I'm gonna enrich it after this. Yeah, I'm gonna enrich my Shiri right after that. I know a lot of people, a lot of subs told me, yeah, Shiri is amazing, and I was like, no, Shiri sucks. I really hate it, even without knowing how it would perform in the current meta. And oh boy, was I wrong. Yeah, the Shiri is insane. When you know how to play it, the Shiri is insane. So overall, if I had to sum up real quick the playstyle, when you're top tier, you can play aggressively, but try to play aggressively from positions where you can deliver your damage and go back to a safe position. Don't try to brawl and take damage, because you will never bounce. And when you are bottom tier, you try to play with heavily armored tanks. You wait for them to take shots for you, and as soon as the opponent's shot on your heavily armored tanks, you go out of your position, you burst all your shells, and you go back to cover, like I did, for example, here with the IS-3 Bear. Anyway, tell me in the comments, what do you think about the Shiri, guys? Do you think it's a good tank? Do you think it needs a buff? Do you like it, or do you hate it? I would be curious to know that, because I feel like this tank is subject to controversy, because it's either 50-50. It's 50% you love it, 50% you hate it. So I would be curious to know your opinion. Anyway, I'm gonna leave you there, guys. If you enjoyed, you know what to do. You can subscribe, like, and share. And as I say that, got a little bit lucky on that IS-3, but we still secure the shot. 3 kill, more than 3k damage, and of course an ace tanker. I'm gonna see you soon, guys, and waiting for that. Au revoir.